Hey there friends, Dave Paulides, CanAm Missing Project, copyrighted edition for our video channel. And this is Huck, and she's the executive producer of the show. And she is demanding as all heck. Wants a good show. We just came out from outside, it's like -10. She wants to be out there for like an hour. Dad's freezing his buns off. You're a good girl. You're a good girl. Thanks for being here, Huck. So she'll be around for a while more. She's kind of tired. So we're going to get on with it. So this, another shirt that somebody sent me in. It was really nice. You could see why it makes some sense. Thank you. Again, people send me this stuff in, and I don't even know who to thank for it because there's no notes inside. But thank you. I appreciate it. Okay. We're still on the Amnesia series. And this case is more recent. And as I was working this case up, I got some tears in my eyes, I gotta tell you. And you'll see why. I'm amazed that some of you have written some real disparaging things about me on the video comments about how boring these segments are. It's not going to have an effect on what I'm doing because I know I'm over the target. And you're going to see some things today that should make things a little more clear. And each one of the segments I do should become a little more clear about what's happening. So here we go. This man's name was Kevin Mura. And Kevin was 53 years old. And he went missing August 26, 2004 at 8:15 p.m. Now here's the strange thing. Ben, my son, was born August 26th. Not 2004, but I pay attention to dates. Well, Kevin disappeared August 26, 2004, 8:15 p.m. And he disappeared at Midway International Airport in Chicago. Again, that doesn't surprise me either. He was married to a lady named Jan for 27 years, Jan Mura. And he was the father of 3 boys, Aaron, Chris, and Kenny. He was a grandfather of 7. He was a retiree from James River Paper Mill. And everyone would consider Kevin an extremely advanced carpenter and woodworker. Hey, Huck. Hey, let's not go back there. She's got her nose in everywhere. And he was a huge Green Bay Packer fan. And when they retired, they decided that they were going to purchase kind of a rundown place called the Peshtigo River Inn and remodel it. Kevin had the skills, Jan had the desire. Away they went. He drove a 2002 Dodge Caravan, dark blue in color. So the story starts. August 25th, 2004. Kevin had his sons nearby and their families. And one of the wives' families in Phoenix had a death. And they decided that they were going to fly out the next day, and they made arrangements that night to make it happen out of Midway. The next day, August 26th, the day Kevin disappears. I'm setting this up for you so that you understand there was no real pre-planning on this. There was no, we knew 2 weeks in advance. No, this happened overnight. August 26th, Kevin offers to make the 265-mile drive from their home in Crivitz, Wisconsin, to Midway Airport. So they loaded the 4 kids and their daughter-in-law in the van, and Kevin took off with them. At about 7 o'clock that night, Kevin gets a call as he's in the outskirts of Chicago from Jan, just checking up with them, how they're doing, blah, blah, blah. He said that they were in heavy traffic and he would call her when he got out of it in a couple hours. If you've ever driven around Chicago, Midway, O'Hare, it's crazy. Traffic's heavy. It's, especially around Midway, it can be dangerous. So I know exactly why Kevin said, no, I can't talk now. I got to concentrate on my driving. So at 8:15 that night, Kevin pulls up to the terminal at Midway and is dropping off his family. He's giving hugs to all his grandkids. He goes, I'll see you guys real soon. Be safe, fly safe. They go in the terminal. They wave. Kevin drives away. Jan, at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, midnight, is calling Kevin, trying to figure out what happened. Where is he? There's no answer on the phone. And in her words, she knew something hugely was wrong. Now, Jan told the sheriff that Kevin was in perfect health. He was about 6 feet tall, about 200 pounds. He was no easy target. He had no medical issues. He never had disappeared before. There were no marital issues. He loved his grandkids like there's no tomorrow. Only one odd thing happened. Kevin forgot his wallet that day. He didn't have any ID. He didn't have any credit cards, but he did bring some cash. So now you've gone through August 26th. No contact from Kevin. The family did get on the plane and they did make it to Phoenix. But August 27th in the morning, Jan calls the Marinette County Sheriff, and that's the county that they live in. The sheriff's deputy comes out and runs a criminal history on Kevin, finds nothing, and does find that he's never been reported missing before. They ran all of his licenses, and they found that he had a hunting license for every year for the last 30 years. Jan was interviewed by the press, and she stated that it was her belief that whatever happened was not voluntary. And she said he loved his grandkids way too much to just voluntarily walk away from the family. Now, at this point, there's a nationwide all points bulletin out for that vehicle that Kevin drives, a 2002 Dodge Caravan dark blue. A good target to look for. They had the license plate number. Now, every time you drive into a parking lot at an airport, they take a picture of your license plate. The reason they do that is so you don't leave the car parked there, let's say, for 3 weeks, and then you come get the car and you say, hey, I lost my tab. I've only been here for a day, so can I just pay and leave? No, they can look up the license plate. And Jan had requested, and so did Marinette County, that the parking lots at Midway be checked. And they said that they had been, and that they hadn't seen the van or had it reported. Well, 13 days after Kevin disappears, September 8th, Midway Airport finds Kevin's van in the short-term parking lot, where it had been since 8:30 August 26th that night. How did they not see that? And that was a huge stumbling block for everyone on this investigation for a while. A lot of people thought somebody pulled it in, but no, it had been there since August 26th. Well, in a very professional move by Marinette County, they sent 2 detectives on a 4.5-hour one-way drive down to Midway to process the van. And what they wanted to do is they said they wanted to make sure that there wasn't a crime scene and that Chicago didn't miss it. They went down, processed the van, and they didn't see anything. No blood, no broken things, nothing inappropriate. Everything seemed to be the way a family would leave it. Well, Jan was interviewed by the press at about this time. And they asked her, well, what do you make of that car in the parking lot? And she said, I believe Kevin parked the car there in short term to go check on the family to make sure that they got on the plane okay and that there weren't issues because it happened so quickly. Makes perfect sense to me. I'm sorry, that makes perfect sense. Now, there was an interesting comment by one of the deputies who said, well, we think that Kevin may have gotten on a plane at that point. Oh, really? Really? You gotta think through this clearly, folks. They went back and looked at his wallet. All of his ID, all of his credit cards, driver's license, his passport's at home, everything's there. How's he getting on a plane? He's not. No, that's not happening. Now, if it happened today, the way they're allowing people on planes today with no ID, specifically illegals, it may happen. Back in 2004? No, I don't think so. In fact, I'll just say it. No, he didn't get on a plane. So that was September 8th. Detectives process it, don't find anything. They have nothing. They've got no new leads. They've got nothing. What is a little surprising is that there are so many closed-circuit cameras in an airport. I am surprised that they were not able to pull footage of the airport if Kevin went inside. I think they should have been able to, but there was no mention that it was. Late September 2004. About a month after Kevin disappears. One of Kevin's hunting partners were interviewed for an article. This was a huge local issue in Wisconsin. Huge. And his partner stated that Kevin had priorities in life. His grandkids, his family, his wife, and hunting. His friend said that in 30 years, they've hunted every year. Kevin's never missed a year. It was something that meant a lot to his soul. And he was going to miss a hunting season, and he couldn't believe it. Those kind of things mean a lot to people. And when I was writing this up, I thought, I can understand that. And as I'm writing this up, I'm starting to understand what kind of man Kevin is. He's a man of his hands. He worked with wood. He was a carpenter. He built things. He hunted. He appreciated wildlife. Appreciated the outdoors. He had no medical issues, folks. None. So, that was late September. Jan and the family, the boys, they were contributing the best they can to keep the resort going. When you have a big resort like this, there's daily things that break. And you need a handyman like Kevin. And when things break, you have to fix them. Kevin was that guy. Which is why he was the perfect guy to own the resort. And it's why he devoted a big part of his life to making it work. December 9th, 2004. Jan gets a call from southeast Iowa. This person tells her that her husband Kevin is in southeast Iowa. The family knew the location, but they didn't want to give it up to the press because they didn't want people bothering Kevin. And he was under the care of a psychiatrist and a Catholic priest. In an effort, when they found him, to identify him, he was taken to the public library in this town, and they looked up pictures of missing people, and they found Kevin. Now, there was never an explanation in any of these articles about why the local police in Iowa weren't involved. Now, in our Amnesia series, we've had a lot of people go to police. We've had people go to religious organizations and ask for help. In this case, it appears that Kevin went to the priest who got him the psychiatrist to help him. The psychiatrist was talked to by Jan, and he stated that Kevin had a very rare form of amnesia that is brought on by stress or trauma. He stated that he didn't see any trauma on Kevin, and that a physical exam showed no trauma, so he didn't understand what the instigator was for the amnesia. Now, you're Kevin's family. He's gone from the family for 4.5 hours, and during that 4.5 hours, something happened. After he drops his family at the airport, he parks the car in short-term parking. Where does he go? What does he do? Does he go into the airport and he can't find his family and that triggers something? Does he get out of the car and is he confronted at Midway by somebody? Midway is in a sketchy part of Chicago. Anything can happen there. So there was never any statement in any article that Kevin was injured in any way or needed to be hospitalized for some physical injury. That was not ever anywhere. So now, they know Kevin is in southeast Iowa. Iowa, again. On December 10th, 2 of his boys decide to go to Iowa and meet with their dad. They brought tons of photos, and they figured that they would sit down with him and try to get his memory to kick in. The boys stated that they walked into the room, they saw their dad, he gave them a glancing look, and it's like, I don't even know you guys, how can I help you? He didn't recognize them. So they sat down, they explained who they were, they said he was polite, and he listened. And they started to show him pictures. Show him pictures of his mom and dad, and him when he was a boy. Nothing. Showed him pictures of he when he was a young man. Nothing. Pictures of he and his wife when he was younger. Nothing. And then they started to show him pictures of the boys. The boys that were there and the one son that wasn't there. And they showed him pictures of him as a younger man with the boys as they got older. This was smart of them. They stated that it took several minutes, and they slowly put the pictures in front of him, showing him a historical timeline as they grew up in his presence. They said it took a while, but eventually Kevin came around to saying that he knew that those were his boys. a huge accomplishment by those kids. Congratulations, guys. That's absolutely huge. Now, one thing that was also not brought up in any of these articles is who Kevin believed that he was. In these instances described by the psychiatrist, these type of people tend to take on some other identity. If Kevin did, he never said it, or the family never made it public. Well, after the boys convinced Kevin that that was their dad and they were the sons, they thought that they had made some inroads. Can you imagine how devastated Jan must have been? She wasn't there, but hearing the words coming back from the boys. So that was the 11th and the 12th of December 2004. Everyone took a very cautious approach on this. They didn't want to push too hard, but they wanted to make some progress. They kept talking to Kevin, and in February 2005, a couple months later, they invited Kevin to come out to the resort for a couple months and stay with the family. Wow. That must have been emotional. And be around the grandkids. This is huge, folks. This is huge. So Jan said that he came out, and in her words, he was self-absorbed and seemed distracted. That was the sentence. She said that he seemed to have lost all of his woodworking skills. And he wouldn't answer the resort phone. Let's say that we put you out in the middle of the woods for 10 years and you come back into society and I throw a pencil at you and you grab it. You'll know what to do with the pencil. It's surprising when somebody has spent a lifetime around tools that he would have lost all of his woodworking skills. To me, that's a hard pill to swallow. And I'm not in the least questioning Kevin that he's faking this. I don't believe he faked it at all. I'm thinking along different lines. And you'll see where I'm going. You may think I'm a whack job at the end of this, but hold on. Kevin was at that resort for 2 months. The family saw him under all the same conditions that he would have been in for the years that he built it. This was his palace that he built and remodeled. If there was anything that was going to bring memory back, this should have been it. Jan made one of the most interesting statements I've ever heard anyone make in any of these amnesia incidents. She stated, "It looks like Kevin, but it's not him." Bingo. I sat upright in my chair when I read that. I go back to my X-Files days. There were a couple of X-Files episodes where somebody came into a house, looked like the husband, looked identical to the husband of the wife. But the wife's around the husband for a while. She says, "That's not my husband. It may look just like my husband, but it's not my husband." If you guys are X-Files followers, you remember these episodes. When Jan says, "It looks like Kevin, but it's not him." Even if she didn't mean it like it came out, I took it that way. When he loses all of his skills, he loses all of his memory. Something is at play here that we totally do not understand, folks. Now, in that X-Files episode, they made a lot of insinuations on that one and others that these were clones. People cloned to look just like me or just like you, but they weren't me and they weren't you. And maybe they weren't Kevin. Kevin could never explain what he did in the time between dropping off his family at Midway and showing up in southeast Iowa. So where was he? Where did he go? When did he show up on terra firma? Okay, I allow you to call me a whack job on this one video. But if we are seriously going to look outside the box, it goes back to what I said many videos before. This reminds me of somebody studying us. Maybe they put Kevin down in a clone, like a clone, and they want to see how Jan and the boys and the grandkids respond to this. Maybe they want to see how close they're getting with clones. Can they fool the family? I have no idea. But the story's not over. So that was February, March 2005 that he was at his resort. Kevin went back to live with his sister in Virginia in an attempt to regain his memory. This is hard, folks. January 1st, 2008. Kevin has a stroke. Days later, he dies. He died. I don't understand this. August 26, 2004. Kevin Mura is in perfect health. He had no issues his whole life. Per his mom and his wife. What happened? Now, would it be stressful if this really was Kevin living through this hell? Take it another direction. Maybe the beings up there say, hey, let's wipe his memory clean and let's see how long he can live on the planet with no memory, starting from scratch. I don't know what these people are thinking, entities are thinking. This is the one case where I actually started to think maybe he was a clone. As much as Kevin loved his grandkids, how could that memory not kick in? I don't get it. Please share this on your social media. Please. This was a hard one for me. I'm sure it's hard on his boys. And grandkids and Jan. I did look up the resort. It looks like they've sold it to an organization that supports the military now. Thank you for being here. Please. Paulides out.